Hello. Today we are going to review Western Computer's 365 shop floor.
The initial setup of the employee scanning application is completed on the manufacturing setup. On the manufacturing setup, we have a new fast tab for the employee scanning where you can specify the options for the application. You can specify if the production hours scanned by an employee are automatically released, they're automatically posted, as well as you specify the output journal, which we utilized for the posting of the transactions. The production hours release will automatically post the employee's hours to a particular job. The automatic post release will post the output of the routing step to the job. In addition to the manufacturing setup, there are new options on the employee card. If you go to an employee card, we have added an additional section for employee scanning. You can specify the user ID that is associated with this particular employee, as well as the supervisor that is associated with this employee. The user ID is the user that logs in to access the application. The supervisor is the employee that is set up within the system. In this case, Annette Hill's supervisor is JR. The supervisor is used to identify which employee can approve and review an employee's scanning entries. If we look at JR, we can see that JR is a supervisor, and the only thing we had placed on here is his employee setup. The employee scanning processing is conducted primarily through the employee scanning page. This page you can have set up on a terminal, and this is where an employee can interact with and manage their time and processing of a particular job. At any time, a user can scan or type the commands for help, and they can actually see a list of commands that are available if they have any question. And anytime throughout the process, the system will explain to them what they're expected to do. So the first step, in this case, we'll use our Annette Hill employee, and Annette is going to take and start processing a particular job. So Annette will scan, in this case, we're using the employee initials, scan the employee ID. Then the next step, it will tell them to scan a particular job. I'm typing, you could either type in the information, or if you had a barcode on a document, you could scan that. So now Annette wants to work with the job 1011005. Now, which task or which step in the routing is she going to process? In this case, it's 100. And then which machine center or work center is she going to take and process this material on? We'll first look to match a machine center by ID for this particular task. If that is not found, then we'll use a work center. So you can track individual machines or the work center as a whole. So in this case, we'll do 100. And then now to complete and finish her scan, she'll put in the initials to close out that transaction. So now Annette is logged in to job 1011005, task 100 for the work center 100. The system knows that Annette now has that material and is processing on that work center. At this point, depending upon the type of work center, if it's a machine that she's loading and is not conducting actual labor, Annette could scan out another job so that we know that Annette's responsible for this and can put it into another work center. At the end of a particular shift or at the end of a particular process, Annette can return the job for safekeeping and then check it out again and then process it, or Annette can turn the job and determine that she's finished with that particular step so that it can move on to the next step. So when Annette comes back, again, the first step is going to scan her initials, specify which job we're returning, and then we'll scan the initials to check that back in. So now this particular job with this material has been checked back in. It has not been finished yet. This was just to say that Annette had done some work on it and had returned it back for whatever reason. So if Annette was going to work on it again, she would scan the employee card, scan the job, scan the task, scan the work center. And now the job is back with Annette. Now, as you go through the scanning process, you can see that now when we track the transactions, we can actually see the history of what Annette has done for a particular set of time entries. And you can see when the job was issued, when the job was returned, and how long Annette had the job. We also do allow for the specification of setup time and runtime. So if you'd like to track setup time and runtime separately, the employee can scan what they're doing for that particular transaction, if they're going to be doing some setup for this job, or if they're actually going to be completing the action on the step. So now if Annette wants to finish this particular step of the job, she'll scan her initials, scan the job, and at this point, she'll scan the command for finish the step. Now, Annette will specify how many pieces for this particular job will move forward. For this example, we'll just enter one piece. Scans the initials, and Annette can move forward. We also do allow for the tracking of scrap, but for this particular job, we're not going to enter any scrap. So the employee can set up and determine if they're using setup time, runtime, or if they're scrapping any material. Anywhere through the process, you can see that the screen will indicate to the employee any status information for that particular job, as well as what work they have completed and any work that they have outstanding. That was what steps are involved in the employee scanning the particular application. Now, from the management point of view, the next step, depending upon the setups that you have enabled, the supervisor would go into the production time journals. And in the production time journal, the supervisor would see all of the time entries for the particular jobs that the employees that they're responsible for reviewing have scanned. If you recall from the setup, we have two options that could be enabled. One is the automatic release of the hours. What that means is as soon as an employee is done scanning a particular work center job task, it will go into production journal for the ability to be reviewed. Or we can give the option for the employee to release their hours when they're ready at a particular given interval, say at the end of the day. The other option is to have their time journals, and this is an example of a time journal. As you can see, we had just worked with Annette, to have those automatically post for output, or in this case, where they could be reviewed for a supervisor. This allows the supervisor to review the information for correctness or if they would like to make any adjustments. So here we can see the history of what Annette had done for this particular job. Annette had scanned out the job, scanned the job back in, scanned the job back out, scanned it back in, and on the second scan had finished a particular step. Again, the supervisor has the option here to correct or delete any of these lines in the event that the employee had made a mistake or if another adjustment needed to be made. When they're ready to post these particular transactions, they will check mark the transactions they would like to post. They would go to process. They would go to post, or they could actually post and print the transactions. So they could have a printout of the time that they were posting. So when they go to post the time journals, that time and that output will actually be posted to a particular job. Because we do not have the option to automatically post the output, we can actually now go to our output journal, which was specified in our setup. And we can see the transactions that we have moved from our employee time scanning to our output journal, where there somebody in the manufacturing department can post these transactions and they would be posted to the job. So now if we go back to our production order, we can see ledger entries for the times that we have posted for this particular job. And that concludes our demonstration of employee scanning.